You've heard the stories of the world's most elite military units, the kind of legends that seem too perfect to be true. Missions where a small team of highly trained individuals faces impossible odds and yet comes out on top. We've all seen the headlines about the triumphs, but what happens when the mission, no matter how meticulously planned, runs headfirst into the chaotic unpredictability of the real world? What happens when a top secret operation, personally greenlit by the President of the United States, unravels in the dead of night? Not with a heroic firefight, but with a tragic, almost silent failure. This is the story of a mission in North Korea that was supposed to provide a strategic edge, but instead exposed the fragile, high-stakes reality behind the headlines.
The United States has great strength and patience, but if it is forced to defend itself or its allies, we will have no choice but to totally destroy North Korea.
Let's rewind to 2018. The world is holding its breath, and President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un are engaged in a bizarre, high-stakes diplomatic dance.
Taking a good picture, everybody, so we look nice and handsome and thin.
Beautiful.
Perfect.
잘생기게 아름답게 찍어달라고.
1 minute they're trading insults about nuclear bombs. The next they're exchanging quote-unquote beautiful letters.
And we go back and forth, and then we fell in love, okay? No, really. He wrote me beautiful letters, and they're great letters. We fell in love.
But behind the public spectacle, there was a problem. A huge problem. The United States had almost no insight into Kim Jong-un's inner circle. We couldn't bug their phones. We couldn't recruit human sources. It was a strategic blind spot that made every decision a shot in the dark. And the stakes? Well, potentially a nuclear war with a country that has an estimated 50 nuclear weapons and missiles that could reach the West Coast. Now, to fix this, US intelligence agencies came up with a bold, almost unbelievable plan. They would develop a new top secret electronic device that could listen in on Kim's communication, and then they'd have someone sneak in and plan it. The mission was so risky that it required direct sign-off from the president himself. And who do you think a job that sounds like it came straight out of a James Bond movie goes to? Well, only the world's most elite commandos, SEAL Team 6's Red Squadron, the very same guys who killed bin Laden, and they practiced for months. They were aware that every move had to be perfect. The plan was a marvel of military planning. A nuclear submarine would get them to the coast, then 2 mini-subs would take them silently to a deserted shore. So on a frigid winter night in early 2019, the mission was a go. The SEALs in their wetsuits and night vision goggles slipped from their mini-subs and swam toward the rocky North Korean shore. Everything was going by the book. They thought they were in the clear, but they made a series of tiny, almost imperceptible mistakes. First, one of the mini-subs overshot its mark and required a U-turn, a slight delay. Then back on the subs, the pilot revved the electric motor to correct its position. A tiny disturbance in the water, maybe the wake from that motor or maybe the light from the sub's open cockpit doors, caught the attention of someone bobbing in the dark just a few hundred yards away. A small North Korean boat with a crew that looked like fishermen. They started talking, they were shining flashlights over the water, and the SEALs on the shore saw the boat, and in the dark, featureless sea, it looked like those North Koreans were right on top of their teammates. Now, here's the thing. With no drones overhead and a total communications blackout, all the technological advantages the SEALs normally rely on were gone. The commander of the mission was miles away on the bigger submarine, so with a man from the North Korean boat splashing into the water, the senior enlisted SEAL on the shore had to make a split-second life or death decision. He raised his rifle, and wordlessly the rest of the team did the same, and within seconds, everyone on that North Korean boat was dead. Now, this kind of a failure isn't a new story. This kind of mission failure hidden by the veil of secrecy has been a recurring theme for special operations. Their public image is built on flawless victories, but their classified history is far more complicated. SEAL Team 6's very first mission during the 1983 invasion of Grenada was a complete disaster. 4 SEALs drowned trying to make it to shore, and there have been other failures since in Panama, Afghanistan, and in Yemen, where a 2017 raid left a SEAL and 30 civilians dead and $75 million in aircraft destroyed. Now, the failures are often chalked up to unforeseen circumstances, but for some in the military, it's a pattern of special operations units devising overly bold and complex missions. Back in the Obama administration, they started pulling back on these types of risky commando raids, reserving them only for the most extraordinary situations. But when the Trump administration came in, they reversed many of these restrictions. They prioritized speed and aggression over deliberation. And the result? Well, a green light for a mission that was ambitious and full of potential, but one that was built on a knife's edge with near zero margin for error. The North Korean mission was a total bust. The SEALs retreated, and they left behind the bodies of North Korean civilians who, it turned out, were indeed just fishermen. In truly grim detail, the SEALs allegedly punctured their lungs to make sure the bodies would sink to the ocean floor. And US spy satellites actually detected a surge of North Korean military activity, but to this day, it's unclear if they fully even understood who was responsible. Now, back home, military reviews of this operation found the killing of civilians was justified under the rules of engagement. The findings were, of course, classified, but here's the most mind-boggling part. The Trump administration never told the key members of Congress who oversee military and intelligence activities. This lack of notification may have violated federal law, and it was only after President Biden took office that his administration briefed Congress on what had happened. So the US intelligence blind spot in North Korea was never fixed, as far as we know. The talks collapsed, the North Korean nuclear program accelerated, and the US now estimates that North Korea has 50 nuclear warheads and the material for 40 more. The mission was a total failure. The intelligence wasn't gained, and innocent people died. And all of this really brings us back to that initial question. What happens when the perfect plan meets an imperfect reality? The SEALs are an invaluable part of our military, capable of incredible things, truly incredible things, but their missions, like all human endeavors, are subject to chaos, to miscalculation and tragic outcomes. And by hiding the failures like the Grenada mission, the hostages killed in Afghanistan, the deaths of North Korean civilians, the government is ensuring that the public and even policymakers don't truly understand the extreme risks involved in these operations. We really only ever see the success. And so the next time you hear a headline celebrating a secret commando raid, a daring rescue, or a decisive victory, ask yourself, what's the rest of the story? What are the parts that are too messy, too complex, too human to fit into a celebratory headline? And in a world where we're increasingly relying on a few elite soldiers to solve our biggest geopolitical problems, are we, the public, the American public, being given enough information to weigh the true cost of these missions? Are we really ready to accept a high-tech Black Ops victory if the price of admission is just a few dead civilians in a sea that we'll never know about? The story of the mission that went wrong, it's not just about a few tactical errors. It's about a system that chooses secrecy over accountability, and a public that has no idea about what's being done in its name. And the most dangerous part of this all is that to this day, it's still happening.